Hello, Matt here. As I promised, we're going to get into some course organization in this video. After you set up your course, this is what you see. We have our test course with 3 topics. Okay, you'll notice that there's all sorts of things along the side here. What these are called is blocks. There are dozens of different kinds of blocks, and lots of them are quite handy, but they throw a bunch in there automatically. Okay. Now your page might look slightly different because I've set this up at times and I'm not sure what it looks like initially anymore, but the process is still the same. Okay, so odds are pretty good you'll have an administration block, which is useful to you as the admin for your agency. Okay, we're going to be using a lot of these things. Another one is navigation, the navigation for your course. Okay. It puts some things in there that you're probably not going to want. So we're going to show you how to move things around and how to delete things and how to add things. Okay, first of all, we'll start with the blocks. There's other things we're going to hit on, but let's start with the blocks. So if you're going to edit anything, what you need to do first is click the Turn Editing On button. This big green guy right here. Once you turn on editing, you'll see that lots of different things pop up that weren't there before. Typically there's gears and other little gears, or a triple gear. Okay, and these little move icons. All right, and then immediately you see these add activity or resource and all these little icons. So that's what you're going to use to organize your course. First of all, let's start with the blocks. Now the search forums, I don't want to be able to search forums in this course because I'm not going to have any forums. All right, so first thing you want to learn to do is delete it. All right, so you click on the gear, and these are all the things you can do. Okay, you can configure it, hide it, and that's one thing you can do with most things is just hide it so your users don't see it. But I don't see any reason to have this, so I'm going to go down to delete search forum block. It asks me if I'm sure. I say yes, and that one goes away. The latest news block is the same as when you set up your course. It asked you how many news items you wanted to show. We said 0, so it didn't put that at the top of the course. But if we would have said a number, then the latest news would have been also at the top of the course. But since we didn't want it at the top of the course, let's kill it from the side of the course as well. So the same deal, I'm going to click on the gear, I'm going to delete it. Okay, so it's going to ask if I truly want to do that. I say yes. All right, so some other things you can do with these things. This is an upcoming events thing. That's fine. You can add things to a calendar and it'll show perhaps you're going to have a live event with your students, or there's going to be a chat session, or they need to start something at a certain time. You can put those things in an upcoming events calendar. Okay. One thing you can do with these blocks, if you click this little arrow right here, okay, what it does, I'll show you, I'll zoom back out. It puts that block over here on the side. Okay, and then if you hover over it, it pops up. That is a handy organization tool, but you would definitely have to tell people that this stuff is over here. So in theory, you could put everything over there. Let's put our recent activity over there. So now I put navigation, recent activity, and upcoming event blocks over here. Now, if you hover over them, they show up. Pretty handy. Cleans up the page a little. Administration stays visible. There's nothing you can do about that. You can shrink it down so it just says administration, or you can move it to the bottom of the page, and I'll show you how to do that. That's another thing you can do with blocks is move it down into the gray footer area, this area here. I've done that with some of my courses because I'd like the course to go all the way over to the side instead of having a block over here taking up space. Sometimes when you have a video in here or something, you want it to be able to spread out a little bit and it gets cut off if you have this here, or you have to shrink it down to a smaller size. Okay, so you can put the blocks over on the side like this as tabs. You can have blocks all down the right-hand side. Okay, let's move all these back out by clicking on this button right here. Whoa, where'd it go? Right here. What that's going to do is put them all back out in the main area. Okay. So now they're all back over here on the right. Now you can also move them or configure them. Okay, so let's click on the move icon and see what that gives us. All right, so that gives us the ability to drag them around. Okay, so like I said, you can put them in the footer. So if you want to get everything out of the way, you can drag this down here and drop it. Okay, same with all of these. So if I wanted to get everything out of the way, okay, so now I've dragged all the blocks into the footer. Let's turn off editing and see what that looks like. This gives me my course across the entire page. That's one advantage of putting them along the bottom. Okay. Now you can also put them along the left-hand side as tabs, and then move the administration tab down here or block down here to do the same thing. It allows for your course to spread across, which I personally like. A lot of people like to have their blocks either along the right-hand side or the left-hand side, and that's fine. Okay, now we've turned editing back on. All the blocks are down on the bottom or wherever you want to put them. The next thing you can do is add a block. Here are all the selections. It's kind of going off my video area, but there are dozens of different blocks, okay? And you can go ahead and look through those, research them on the Moodle Docs site, and decide if you want to use any of them. But there are some very handy blocks. So after you select a block, you go in and you configure it. You decide where you want it to show up. So where this block appears, display on page types, any type of course main page. Okay? So that's any course main page, or you can change it to any course page or any page. Now this is going to be within the area that you have rights to edit. Okay? So if you always want an activities block to show up, you can go ahead and put any course page or any page and it'll show up there. And then you can adjust it on this page. That way, if you want to override this main setting, you can do it per page. Okay? Okay, so that's enough about blocks. You can go ahead and mess with that all you want. I probably went into it a little too deep. Hopefully I'm not wasting your time. But they can be very useful, so it's nice to know how to use them. And they also change the shape and form of your course, so you need to know how to move them around. Okay? So the next thing I wanted to go over is messing with the course description. Okay, so the top here is the title of the course, and then this little gear right here allows you to edit the course description, basically. It's kind of the intro area. You might put instructions on what to do in the course. Okay, so anytime there's a gear, you can edit something. Let's go ahead and click on that. Now this is the summary of what it's calling general. That's the general area of the course, okay? So right now it's using the default section name. If you want to change that, go ahead and uncheck that and change it to section name or whatever you want, okay? Summary, this is a good area, like I said, to give instructions, describe the course, anything you want in there. And this is a typical text editor. You're going to see this a lot in Moodle. Okay. Now, one thing, I'm not going to go into details on it, but one thing you need to know right away is that you can show more buttons by clicking on that. And it's basically a text editor. So let's put a little bit in there just to show you how it works. All right, let's make that, let's make it a small heading. Let's go down here and more text. All right, so we changed the name, we added some text, save changes. All right, so now you can see under my test course is the main title of the course. This top section is called section name, and this is the text I put in there. Okay, you can also put images to dress this thing up. I tend to try to dress up a course with some appropriate images and a description of how to do things, maybe a link to some other stuff. Okay, and then the meat of the course is the topics. All right, so that's the last thing I wanted to do was show you how to organize and move around topics. Okay, so the same thing with these topics. You can change the name of them by clicking on the gear. I'm going to change it to Special Topic 1. I'm going to save that. I'm just going to do that so you can tell what's happening when I drag these around. Okay, so with these topics, when we first set up the course, we chose 3 topics. As I mentioned, you can always add or subtract topics from a course. Okay, you do that by going down to these buttons right down here, plus and minus. I'm going to add one right now, show you what it looks like. Now I have 4 topics. Okay, and then of course I'm just going to subtract one, and I'm back to 3. Now the other thing you can do with these topics is drag them around. I'm going to drag this one down into the middle. So now you can see special topic 1 is actually topic 2. All right. It automatically renames them if you left them as topic 1, 2, and 3. The other thing you can do, or a couple of the other things you can do, is you can delete them by clicking here. You can hide them. So if you had a section of a course that is kind of timely and is no longer timely for the course, you can go ahead and go into your course, click that. You'll still see it, which allows you to edit it, maybe update it, make it more timely, but the students can't see it. Okay. And this is just a highlight. You could go into a course and highlight a section if you wanted them to focus on that, or if that's the section they needed to be doing that week or something like that. Okay. So that's what you can do with the topic area. That's kind of the topic organization. You'll be putting all your course meat within those. We're not going to go into adding activities or resources at this point. That's for a later video. But now you know how to drag things around. You know how to add blocks, delete blocks. You know how to move them around your page. You know how to add information to the section header, to your course header. And generally, you know how to organize a course now. The next video is going to cover the specifics of editing within a topic.